stepdaughter who I spent my whole life and every penny on raising repays me by helping her dad cover up his affair and presenting dad's mistress as her mother at her college graduation party that I funded. Now she's being thrown out of the house. BC they don't need her anymore. BC they're clearing space for their real family. Complete story. That feeling when your entire world, the one you painstakingly built for 16 years, suddenly shatters into a million pieces right before your eyes. Well, imagine that, but the person holding the hammer is your own stepdaughter, and the debris raining down on you. That's your husband's affair, publicly announced at a party you paid for. What happened next changed everything. I'm currently navigating the messy, soul-crushing process of divorcing my husband, Dave. We were together for nearly 16 years, married for 12, and for most of that time, I poured my heart and soul into his life, and especially into raising his daughter, Lauren, since she was just 5 years old. Dave, at 46, and Lauren, 21, were my family. They were my life. So, when I found out about Dave's affair, it was a brutal blow, but nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for the sheer, gut-wrenching betrayal of discovering that Lauren had been actively helping him cover it up all along. The day it all exploded into my face was Lauren's college graduation party, which, of course, I'd lovingly organized and paid for. This was about 3 months ago. Lauren was home, freshly graduated, and I wanted to celebrate her. I invited all her friends, our family. It was supposed to be a joyous occasion. As guests started to arrive, Dave mentioned that a co-worker, Nina, would be joining us. Nina, 29, had started at his company about a year prior. I'd met her a few times at office functions, even had her over for dinner once. She always seemed perfectly polite, and I, being me, was always kind and hospitable. Now, looking back, it makes my stomach absolutely churn to think I welcomed her into my home, unknowingly inviting the viper into my own nest. I remember that evening like it was yesterday. It honestly feels like the most traumatic night of my entire life. Nina showed up fashionably late, after everyone else, looking like she was walking a red carpet. Seriously, she was completely overdressed, turning heads the moment she walked in. But what struck me, what really made my unease start to bubble, was that she didn't even acknowledge me when I greeted her. She just went straight to Dave, clinging to him. And he didn't even seem to mind. Their behavior was utterly bizarre, totally inappropriate. But it was Lauren's night. I decided I'd confront Dave later, not wanting to cause a scene. A few minutes after Nina's dramatic entrance, Lauren decided to make a speech. All the guests were there, drinks in hand. I was already feeling this knot in my stomach because of Dave and Nina's obvious closeness. Then Lauren started talking. She gushed about how grateful she was to her father, how he'd single-handedly raised her after her mother passed away when she was 2. My heart sank. Single-handedly? After I came into their lives? I had been a mother to her, financially and emotionally, for years. It felt like she'd completely erased me. I thought, surely, she'll get to me. She has to. My hopes foolishly soared when she started talking about one other person who had been there for her in recent months, someone who had cheered her up, helped her through stressful times. I thought, this is it. She's going to acknowledge me. Even though, realistically, I knew how distant she'd become since college, even more so than her angsty high school years. Still, a part of me, the part that loved her like my own, desperately hoped for some appreciation. But then, the words came. Like a punch to the gut. She said this person was as good as her mother because of their strong bond. And with a sickening smile, she walked straight past me, past all our guests, to Nina. She wrapped Nina in a huge hug. And I just stood there. Like an absolute idiot. A total, utter slap in the face. For a few horrifying seconds, my mind went completely blank. I froze. I knew every single eye in that room was on me, watching as my stepdaughter, the girl I'd considered my own, had just declared another woman her mother. When my brain finally rebooted, the humiliation washed over me. I couldn't stay. I bolted. I ran, faster than I thought I could, into the house, up to my room, and locked myself in. And that's when the tears started. I'd seen and heard enough. I heard Lauren's words. I saw that hug. And I'd noticed the whole night how Dave had been holding Nina's hand, how they stood together, like they were the real family, and I was just furniture. I'm not stupid. I knew what was happening. It was just so incredibly humiliating. I waited. 4 minutes that felt like hours. I waited for Dave. Or at least Lauren. For someone to knock, to explain, to apologize. But no one came. I was utterly alone, crying for what felt like forever. After about an hour, the realization hit me hard: they weren't coming. I grabbed a suitcase. I started packing. There was clearly something deeply wrong, something broken in this family, and I wouldn't, be a part of it anymore. Not after that. When I'd packed most of my things, I went downstairs. And there they were, Dave, Lauren, and Nina, all waiting for me. David and Lauren immediately started berating me. Can you believe it? They accused me of behaving weirdly, of making them make up for my actions by serving dinner early and sending everyone home to avoid drama. They told me my behavior was strange and I needed to apologize to our guests. All of this, said right to my face, with Nina standing there, smirking. Something snapped inside me. I'd planned to leave quietly, without a fuss. But their sheer audacity, their entitlement, fueled a rage I didn't know I possessed. I tore into them. I called them out on their sickening behavior. I demanded an explanation. I already knew, deep down, but I wanted to hear them say it. And Dave finally did. He confessed he'd been in a relationship with Nina 4 months. And the kicker? He said he didn't feel anything for me anymore. He could have stopped there. He didn't. He went on to say he'd lost feelings for me about a year ago, right after he met Nina. He had the nerve to blame me, saying I'd become a bit of a nag. He said without Lauren as a buffer, he realized he just didn't love me anymore, the spark was gone. But with Nina, oh, the spark was back. She was the right woman for him, which is why he was leaving me. And then, the final twist of the knife, Lauren had known. From the beginning. And she was on board with it, because she believed Nina was better for him than me. She'd actively helped him come up with excuses, cover his tracks, so I wouldn't find out until they were ready. It was disgusting. And Lauren? She didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. She actually looked proud. Standing there, hand in hand with Nina, like they were some triumphant trio. I was just amazed. Amazed at the sheer ingratitude, the selfishness of these people. I realized wasting another breath on them was pointless. I told them I wished them luck with their new family, because it was clear I wasn't welcome. I turned, walked out, and within a week, I filed for divorce. Look, I poured 16 years of my life into this family. I'm not letting that go easily. I demanded a significant amount of alimony, and I want to keep the house. In my eyes, those terms are completely fair. They stole a huge chunk of my life I'll never get back. I could have had my own kids, but I thought Lauren was enough. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine this. Dave is responsible for all of it, and he needs to compensate me. I refuse to feel guilty for asking for what I deserve. Of course, he doesn't agree. We've been in mediation, and it's a nightmare. My lawyer and I present facts, but they manipulate everything, trying to paint me as the villain, as if I pushed him to cheat. Neither of us wants to go to court, but honestly, if it comes to that, I don't care. Justice will be on my side. I've been through enough. I'm not scared of anything anymore. And you know what? The scales are already starting to tip. A few days ago, Lauren showed up at my apartment, begging for forgiveness. I don't know how she found me, I'd been so careful. But someone must have blabbed. I certainly wasn't about to open the door, so I just yelled at her to go away. But she didn't. She started crying, right there at my door, telling me Dave and Nina had kicked her out. Why? Because they found out Nina was pregnant. Turns out, they'd known for a while, even before the graduation party. That's why they made their grand announcement then. They knew Nina would start showing soon. And now, they needed Lauren out so they could rent out her room to make extra cash. Apparently, the house, big as it is, wasn't big enough for Lauren and a new baby when they needed rental income. They forced her to vacate immediately. It's not surprising they're having money problems. Nina quit her job. I'm good friends with one of Dave's co-workers' wives, and she told me the entire office was gossiping about Dave and Nina. That's why Nina had to leave. Dave will never admit it at work, of course, because his higher-ups would frown on it, but management isn't stupid. They'll figure it out. He's safe for now, but I know how his mind works. He's clearly trying to avoid getting fired later on, and that's why he needs that rental income. I spent 16 years with him. I know he won't be able to maintain his lifestyle if he has to pay me alimony and give up the house. Which is precisely why I'm going for it. It's a small way to make him pay for what he did. But back to Lauren. Thanks to her, I got all this juicy intel about Dave, but that's certainly not a reason to forgive her. I listened to her, and then immediately told her to leave. I wanted nothing to do with her. She kept begging, and it was hard to keep the door shut, but I knew I had to. If I opened it, I'd end up helping her, and I'd already been punished once for getting involved with that family. I wasn't making that mistake again. She just wouldn't listen. She kept talking about how insensitive her father had been, even after everything she'd done for them. She whined that she finally understood how I felt, how sorry she was, but she just needed me to help her, just this once, until she found a job and a place. After a while, I bluffed and threatened to call the cops. That finally scared her off. Or so I thought. Yesterday, she started texting me from a burner phone. More sob stories about how badly Dave and Nina were treating her. It was so obvious she was just fishing for sympathy, trying to get a place to crash. I wasn't falling for it. At one point, she sent a text saying Dave and Nina told her she needed to move out to make space for their actual family, referring to the baby. That's when my irritation boiled over. I responded. I told her, they're right. You couldn't be true to anyone. I wouldn't blame them for not trusting you or claiming you as their actual family, because you're not worthy of being anybody's family. Then I blocked her. I knew she could just get another number, but I was done. Now, I'm being accused of being too harsh. Apparently, she'd been staying with a friend, but last night she went for a walk to clear her head after my text, and never came back. Her phone's off. No one knows where she is. Her friend got worried, called Dave this morning. And of course, Dave called me, putting me on blast for what I said. He yelled that I had no right to say that to his daughter, completely ignoring that she contacted me first, and the only reason she was in this mess was because he kicked her out for his new family. We had a huge fight. And I, of course, put him in his place. But now that I've had time to think, I do feel a little bad. And the fact that she still hasn't contacted anyone, it does worry me. But then, 2 days after my rant, the good news, they found Lauren. She wasn't even missing. She just went to stay with another friend in the suburbs and ignored everyone's calls. No reason to worry at all. I know this because she contacted me first. She told me she was still truly sorry about everything. She'd taken a couple of days away to think about what I'd said. Turns out, my opinion did matter to her, more than she thought. She knew I was right. She acknowledged her betrayal, how I'd been treated, and how nobody deserves that after all I'd done. She apologized, over and over. And then, she gave me an explanation for why she chose to side with Nina, a woman she barely knew, over me, who she'd known her entire life. Apparently, Dave had promised to fund her lifestyle for years, to give her whatever she wanted. And that, to a college student, sounded incredibly appealing. While I thought Dave and I were teaching her financial independence, he was actively bribing her to keep his secrets and choose Nina over me. It had been going on for a long time. He'd written her dozens of checks over the last year. It was sickening. She was a sellout. Honestly, I wish she'd kept that to herself. Now, given their current financial woes, I doubt Dave can even fund his own lifestyle, let alone hers. Their days of fun are over, and it's all because of me. After reading her message, I don't feel particularly forgiving. In fact, I feel like they deserve everything coming to them, and more. I blocked Lauren again. She won't be contacting me anymore, at least not from that number. As for Dave, he hasn't tried again, but I'll be seeing him soon with my lawyer. Speaking of Dave, quick update. I just heard from my friend that he quit his job. He resigned about 2 weeks ago, and today was his last day. He didn't tell anyone, so it was a shock to the entire office. But, honestly, I knew this was coming. He also told a few friends, including my friend's husband, that he's planning to start his own business. And suddenly, it all makes sense. Why he's suddenly desperate to save money, why he's willing to sacrifice his relationship with his daughter for extra cash. But it doesn't matter to me. Whatever his plans, I'm still going for the alimony I'm owed. I just hope he doesn't try anything funny in mediation. So far, he's been stalling, claiming Nina's pregnancy is overwhelming him, and he can't dedicate time to this. Total rubbish. He's scared of confrontation. We're getting closer to either court or a settlement, and he's clearly terrified of what happens if he can't drag this out any longer. And finally, the best news, A couple of days ago, I had my last mediation session with Dave. And thankfully, he finally agreed to my terms. All the new information that came to light made it undeniably clear that my demands were fair and justified. With the screenshots from Lauren as proof, he knew going to court would be a disaster for him. So, after months of dragging his feet, he conceded. I am so incredibly happy about this win. I am absolutely going to celebrate. He has until the end of the month to find a new place and move out. After that, the house is all mine. I don't plan on living there, though. I'm going to rent it out. It's a great place, so I know I'll make decent money. I guess I'm taking a page out of Dave's book after all. And let's be real, I don't need such a huge house anymore. It's just me. I'm planning on moving into a bigger apartment with all the money I'm getting, maybe even get a cat. I don't know. The future is wide open now, full of possibilities. I'm single, I'm free, and I plan on making the absolute most of my life. I wasted 16 years on Dave and Lauren, and I refuse to waste another second. Hey everyone. I'm back, almost 2 years later. Rereading these updates, it's crazy how miserable I used to be. It's absolutely wild how much has changed in just these 2 years. But I am so incredibly proud of the life I've built after everything I went through. I absolutely lived up to my promise of living life to the fullest. I've been traveling to my heart's content, something I always loved but gave up because Dave and Lauren never had that adventurous spirit. On vacations, they'd always stay in, and I'd end up exploring alone or with strangers. Not anymore. I've traveled extensively, made amazing new friends all over the world. I've been working out, getting into better shape, doing all the things that make me happy but I never had time for before. I haven't had any direct contact with Dave in 2 years. Lauren, though, occasionally wishes me happy birthday or holidays. I haven't responded. I do feel a little bad for her. She's only in her early 20s, and everyone makes bad decisions then. But what she did was unforgivable. Even so, she deserves a good future, and I truly hope she gets it. From what I've heard, she has no contact with Dave anymore and is working out of state. I wish her nothing but success. And Dave? He's now the father of twins. And as far as I know, his business isn't exactly thriving. He tries his best to project this image of a perfect life with Nina, but only his close friends know the truth. I actually think he might be headed for another divorce. Nina is apparently incredibly unhappy with their lifestyle. They constantly fight, bickering about petty things, mostly money, and they don't even care who's around when they do it. It's pretty tacky, but honestly, I expect nothing less from them. My friend sometimes gossips about them, and it's all incredibly entertaining to hear. Honestly, it brings me such profound peace to know his suffering for everything he did. Maybe someday, I'll be able to forgive him, to simply ignore his existence. But for now, I'm perfectly happy being a little petty about it. Have any of you ever had a moment where you realized an old love or friendship was utterly, completely worthless, and found peace in that revelation? Tell me about it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories.